Hi, welcome to Groundphone Music Studio YouTube channel. In today's video, we'll be sharing how to differentiate the music from different musical periods, their characteristics, and some music examples. The musical periods can be simply divided into four eras: the Baroque period from year 1600 to 1750, the Classical period from year 1750 to 1830, the Romantic period from the year 1830 to 1900s, and 20th century from the 1900s to year 2000. How can we differentiate the music from these different periods? There are distinct differences between the musical periods which we can tell orally by hearing and visually by looking at the sheet music. For orally by hearing, it is tested in the oral test in practical exam grade 5 to 8, and for visually, looking at the score, it is tested in the music theory exam for grade 6 to 8. In this video, we will cover mostly by hearing, along with some visual guidance as a continuation of our previous video, the ABRSM grade 5 oral test full guide. Now, let's listen to these four different examples. Here is example A. And now, example B. And next, example C. And lastly, example D. Do these four musics sound different in style and character? That's because they're all from different musical periods. Now, let's discuss the characteristics of each period. The Baroque period characteristics are the energetic, lively rhythm, 18th century dance characters, a strong spirited melodic ideas in upper and lower parts, sometimes with parts copying each other, a frequent use of melodic decoration and ornamentation, a crisp-like articulation and limited pitch range reflecting the original use of hopscotch, a limited dynamic shaping, and rare use of crescendo and diminuendo. Some composers from the Baroque periods are J.S. Bach, Handel, Scarlatti, Vivaldi, and Telemann. I will go through each characteristic and provide instances. The 18th century dance is quite popular in the Baroque period. For instance, minuet, bourrée, gavotte, rigaudon, and jig, and many more. And they have energetic and lively rhythms, such as this minuet. The Baroque period usually has the texture of contrapuntal or polyphonic, which refers to melody and the bass line. The frequent use of imitation in the parts is also frequently encountered. Here we can see an example of Minuet in G by J.S. Bach, which has a melody and an independent bass line. Melodic decoration and ornaments such as trills, turns, moderns, etc. is frequently used in the Baroque period, especially at the end of the phrase and to decorate the longer note values. Here we can see an example of Sonata in E major K380 by Scarlatti. Usually, we will hear crisp, light articulation and a limited pitch range, limited dynamic shaping, and rare use of crescendo and diminuendo due to the original use of harpsichord. It has a shorter range of keys, and the notes played are not sustained. It has a very limited dynamics range and almost impossible to make crescendo and diminuendo. Now that we have covered the characteristics of Baroque period, let's listen to an example. Moving on to the classical period, the characteristics are the regular phrase and clearly punctuated with cadences, graceful and elegant melodic ideas, the accompaniment that clearly outline the harmony, which could be chords or broken chord pattern like alto bass, the dynamic shaping with use of crescendo and diminuendo, simple harmony using mainly primary chords, frequently use of melody-dominated texture and usually melody at the top. The composers from the classical period are Mozart, Haydn, Clementi, Debussy, and Beethoven early period. Classical period usually has 4-bar phrase with the cadence heard at the end of each phrase. Let's look at this example, the Sonata in C major Opus 36 No. 3 by Clementi. It usually has graceful and elegant melodic ideas involving lots of scales and arpeggios pattern, well articulated with legato and staccatos. Let's listen to this example, the Violin Concerto No. 3 in G major by Mozart. In classical period, you can clearly hear the accompaniment pattern in chords or broken chords or alto bass. It is usually on the bass left hand. Let's listen to this example, Sonatina in G major Opus 151 No. 1 by Dibelli. The classical period has a wider dynamic range compared to the Baroque period, with crescendo and diminuendo made possible. The chords used are mainly chord 1, 4, and 5 without much chromatic chords. Normally, the melody is at the top played by the right hand and can be clearly heard above the accompaniment. With that, let's hear an example from the classical period. Next, in Romantic period, we will hear flexibility of tempo, or we call it tempo rubato. It has lyrical and song-like melody and not necessarily at the top part, with extended phrases and less obvious cadential punctuation. It also has rich harmonies and expressive use of chromatic notes. It usually has a thicker sonorities with the use of sustaining pedal and a greater emphasis on the wide dynamic range. Some composers from the Romantic period are Chopin, Brahms, Liszt, Schumann, and Mendelssohn. The flexibility of tempo or tempo rubato, which means the tempo is not always strict, with room for flexibility such as accelerando and ritardando. Here we can see an example of Nocturne in B-flat minor, Opus 9, No. 1 by Chopin. The melody is more expressive in singing style and may appear in the middle or low part. The phrasing is no longer limited to 4-bar and is more flowing as the cadence is made less strong at times. Let's hear an example of Intermezzo in A, Opus 118, No. 2 by Brahms. The chords used in the Romantic period are no longer limited to primary chords only. The chromatic chords are frequently used and giving different colors to the music. With modern piano, the pedal is widely used, making a wider range of notes possible. The tone color can be more expressive and dense, and also a wide dynamic range possible to be explored. Let's listen to an example from the Romantic period. And lastly, the 20th century music usually has vigorous rhythms, perhaps with abrupt changes between ideas and use of spiky accents. The harmony is more adventurous and dissonant. Variety of chord types like note clusters and unrelated chords for color and effect. There are wide dynamics possibilities with sudden change or exploration of extremes of note range and dynamic level. The melodic phrasing is more free and less clearly defined. Asymmetric phrase lengths possible. The tonal center is less obvious or complete lack of tonal center. The influence of jazz or blues, such as syncopation, swing rhythm, or walking bass lines. Some composers from the 20th centuries are Bartók, Debussy, Gershwin, Prokofiev, and Ravel. In 20th century, you can find rhythms such as syncopation, hemiola, and lots of harsh accents. Here we can see the example from No. 6 from Six Dances in Bulgarian Rhythm by Bartók. There are also the use of unconventional chords such as polychord, quadrochord, note clusters, and dissonance can be used without resolution. Let's hear an example from Vision Fugitives, Opus 22, No. 14 by Prokofiev. The melodic phrasing is more free and are less likely in 4-bar. And sometimes it's hard to tell if the piece is in a major or minor, which means it could be an atonal music. You will also hear a lot of sudden change between dynamics, and extreme dynamic levels such as triple forte or triple piano is encountered. Let's hear this example by Schoenberg from the Z-Kleiner Klavierstück, Opus 19, No. 1. Jazz musical styles is also really popular during the 20th century. Let's listen to this example, Take 5 by Dave Brubeck. now let's hear an example for the 20th century music. And now for quiz time. Listen to the example A. And now example B. And this is example C. And lastly, example D. And now the answer. Example A is from the classical period, example B is from the romantic period, example C, the 20th century, and example D, Baroque period. Did you get it right? Please take note that these characteristics are those typically found in the respective musical period. In actual application, some characteristics from the earlier periods may still be found. However, for what is tested in the exam, the music chosen will have the typical characteristics to avoid confusing the candidates. It is highly recommended to listen to a lot of different music, varying from different instruments, the type of work such as orchestra music, opera, jazz band, etc., to fully grasp the idea and concept. If you play an instrument, start with the pieces you are currently working on. You can find a link in the description for the free download PDF version of this video. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like and share, and comment if you want us to make a detailed video about the music, art, and society of each musical period. Thanks for watching. See you next time.